Okay, I'm here to talk to you about the LaVoy Finicum shootout and why I think it was an assassination of him. And this is why, based on facts. So this is some stuff you might not have seen, and I've done quite a bit of intensive research on this thing and done some background looking into, and it's an assassination, and here's why. Okay, let's start off with the use of force. Okay, use of force dictates you have to be in immediate danger of loss of life or serious bodily injury to be justified in the use of force. So you can't shoot somebody with their hands up based on them saying, shoot me. Okay? Someone whose hands are up and surrendering is not justified being shot at. Use of force also dictates medical aid has to be administered as soon as possible, as soon as the use of force is over. Okay? Crime scene photos depict him face down and handcuffed, which is proof that medical aid was never provided for him. Okay, the video that was released by the FBI, it was an Orion ISR platform. I know that because I got some pretty good information saying it was. And it's a multi-million-dollar info-gathering piece of equipment. Okay, it's a 96 megapixel camera. That's 96. iPhones are 12. Okay, so it's a 96 megapixel camera with infrared mode, which is thermal. So, and it had sound capabilities, really good sound capabilities. So why was it so grainy? Why was there no audio to it? Okay, why was it never put into thermal mode with the temperatures around? You could have seen gunshots, individual people, vehicles. Probably could have seen shell casings being ejected. Okay, you could have seen whether LaVoy went for a gun, supposedly, or if he was holding his side with that amount of megapixels. Okay, if it was a cut and dry shoot, then why was it edited? I'll tell you why. Because it released the edited footage because it was blurry and it threw suspicion and doubt right off the bat of what LaVoy was actually doing when they pulled the trigger. Okay, let's talk about the gunshot wounds. And you can download the autopsy report. It's pretty easy. Okay, just Google it. Okay, so the gunshot wounds, they all entered in the back and exited the front. Okay, so at that time, the shooter could not have seen what was happening when he pulled the trigger. Okay, he was facing away. So shooting somebody in the back is, you can't see what's going on. Therefore, every single shot was not justified. Okay, it's no different than a homeowner shooting a murderer or somebody like that who is running away from their house, shooting them in the back. Okay, you're convicted of murder. Okay, let's talk about any medical aspect. Okay, everybody in the medical field knows that hollow organs are very painful injuries, like the kidneys and the liver, which both were shot. Okay, let's talk about gunshot number one. Okay, gunshot number one was a 5.56 or 2.23, whatever you want to say, due to the 1/8-inch entrance wound hole. And it was about here. Okay, it was just a flesh wound. He probably didn't even know it was hit. Let's talk about gunshot number two, which is the most important one. Gunshot number two was a 5.56 also due to the 1/8-inch entrance wound. It hits his back here and exits third rib, actually fourth rib in the front. Let's go to our ribs. 1, 2, 3, 4. That means it exits right here, just left of midline. Okay, so this is where the bullet exited. Okay, let's talk about gunshot number three, which is actually the kill shot. Okay, it was also 5.56 due to the 1/8-inch entrance wound. The lower right back exits left of anterior midline. So it exits the front, lacerates the lower right lung, perforates the diaphragm, perforates and shreds the right kidney, perforates the upper colon, which is the upper part. Okay, perforates the liver, perforates pericardial sac around the heart, perforates the right ventricle of the heart, goes through the left lung, and fractures the left fifth rib as it exits, left of anterior midline, which is about right here below this emblem. Okay, here's a photo of the kill shot, which a lot of people don't really can see it. Okay, person here is the one that shot. Okay, he shot LaVoy in the back, round exited this way. Here's the other shooter that everybody thinks that took the kill shot, the guy with the pistol. He was actually shooting his own teammates. His teammates were actually shooting at his own people. So they were actually shooting at each other. Okay. Okay, let's talk about the roadblock. Okay, law enforcement have exited accident scenes every day, and then they know the exact stopping distance, how vehicles will react when they are hit. Okay, so they know pretty much about vehicles and what they'll do. So I looked up Dodge website, and the photo's right here. Okay, this is Dodge's website, saying the Dodge Ram 3500 or 2500, whatever it is, in ideal conditions with trained drivers with perfectly brand new drums and brakes in a controlled environment with multiple stops with the best tires they can get, stops at about 150 feet. Okay, so that's good scenario. Okay, so let's see another picture. Okay, so here is the actual footage. These Dodge Rams are about 20 to 22 feet long. So 20, 40, 60, 80. Okay, at that sign, 80, there's the sign right there. 100, 20, 40, 60, 80 to the roadblock. That's 180 feet from the center of the corner where they could part seeing them and his brake lights were shown on to the impact zone of the vehicles. So at 60 miles an hour, that means it's traveling 88 feet a second. Okay? So, if you add 150 feet of stopping distance, let's give LaVoy a half a second reaction time, which you minus off 44 feet. So 44 feet plus 150 feet of stopping distance under ideal conditions means 195 feet. That means LaVoy could not have stopped in enough time. That means impact that they knew was imminent, that he was going to hit them, which justifies them in the use of force. Okay, let's look at another vehicle. Okay. So they knew they were going to impact. And I'll tell you what those things are in a little bit. Okay, they knew what they were going to impact and the safe distance that they were going to guarantee an impact and to use decisive force and not to put themselves in too much harm way. In the video, you can hear the first shots around impact this vehicle soon as it comes around the corner. It shows multiple rounds impacting the front windshield. See that picture? Okay, he had multiple rounds impact his windshield. Okay, now who can fathom, okay, who can stop a vehicle in icy conditions in 200 feet or less with bullet rounds impacting the windshield and glass and bullet fragments being thrown into your face? I don't think anybody can. Okay, let's look at another picture. Okay, the officer or agent that's pictured here and circled was such an idiot that he jumped out in front of the vehicle at the impact scene. Okay, did he do that on purpose so he can say, I was using deadly force because my life was in danger? I think so. Okay, every shot that was taken, except for the kill shot, was taken with the other teammates in the background, and therefore severe negligence was shown. They were shooting at their own people. Okay, here's another picture. This is the time that LaVoy first jumped out of the vehicle. So, here's LaVoy with his hands up. Here's where the shot came from. Went through the windshield, actually the side window, and they were shooting at their own people, even on the first initial shot with his hands completely up. Okay? They wanted the vehicle to ram them, and I'll show you why. Yeah, here's this picture again. Okay? And they wanted the vehicle to ram them so they could shoot it up the vehicle from three sides. This was set up as a kill zone. Okay, two vehicles were set up to slow down stop the vehicle. At impact, the two vehicles would then be thrown at a 45-degree angle away from the path of the Dodge, and the third vehicle will stop the Dodge perfectly for a three-sided massacre of everyone in the vehicle. 223 or 556 go through the truck doors very easily. When he did not impact the kill zone, their plan was foiled. They now had a crossfire situation, and they ended up shooting at each other. Okay, agents. Okay, they would have stopped right here at a slower speed, because it took them a 200 feet to slow down, and so they would have massacred everybody in there. Nobody produced a flash, a weapon, yet the vehicle and unarmed people inside were really badly shot up. Let's talk about the mindset of LaVoy. Okay, he was a law-abiding person his whole life. Never used violence towards anyone I could have ever seen. He was a foster parent that helped raise over 50 kids, plus he had multiple kids of his own. Okay, he was a religious man and well-versed in the Constitution. Yeah, I've yet to hear anything about him having a legal weapon in the vehicle, which I can assume that he had a legal concealed carry permit. So he was justified in having a legal weapon in his vehicle. Okay, this is a very, very important aspect. His hands were up at the initial shots being fired. He was surrendering and complying with all the demands until he was stumbling in the deep snow and shot multiple times. On the supposed reaching for a gun. Okay, let's talk about that accusation. Let's say for a second, for the benefit of the doubt, he was actually going for a gun. okay, which I don't think. Okay, I do believe he was justified in doing so when he was reaching for a gun. Okay. They set up a roadblock to put the vehicle in a kill zone. They shot multiple rounds into the vehicle that could be heard in the video. They shot him with his hands up multiple times. So my opinion, at that point, they were not justified in the use of deadly force. Therefore, they were committing murder. And when somebody is committing murder against you, it is your right to protect yourself. Okay? You're being murdered, you can protect yourself. So he was legally allowed to draw a weapon at that time and shoot back to protect himself. Okay, so saying he went for a gun totally destroys that theory right there. And if he wanted to come out shooting, he would have come out shooting at the initial stop, or at when his vehicle went off the road. He wouldn't have come out with his hands up. He drew attention away from the vehicle and the others because the agents were shooting it up. He put his life on the line and put the focus on himself. That is the actions of a hero, not a domestic terrorist. Statistics show that people most of the time who carry a large caliber revolver will stick with a large caliber revolver and won't carry a 9mm. Okay, same true with a 9mm. They don't carry a large caliber revolver. It's the same theory as a person who drives a large vehicle when they go to rent a vehicle. They won't rent a Prius or a smart car. It's just stupid. Okay, so I highly doubt he would be carrying a 9mm auto when he was a revolver guy. I do believe that it was planted. The gun was planted on him after the FBI and the officers realized they shot an unarmed man in the back. Okay, is not the FBI the most well-trained law enforcement there is? Do they not employ the smartest and brightest people who spend hours and days in training in the shoot or no-do-shoot drills? You can't tell me the supervisors did not hear the initial shots that were taken as soon as LaVoy exited his vehicle. Okay, but the FBI released a statement saying that they only shot after LaVoy reached for a gun. They knew they shot an unarmed man. They knew they shot him with his hands up, and they planted the gun. Okay, they planted the gun on purpose to throw more doubt. Okay, if you had time to set up a roadblock on a blind corner, knowing that you were not going to be able to stop, they perfectly measured it out. Okay, why didn't they set up spike strips 1 to 2 miles before the roadblock? Okay, then the vehicle wouldn't have been traveling very fast. Okay, why was there no mention of the roadblock ahead of the initial stop? That would have let everybody in the vehicle know that they're trapped, that they don't have anywhere to go, though their only option is to give up. They did not say there was a roadblock ahead. Okay, this was a traffic stop. Okay, traffic stop or a roadblock on a blind corner. Yet they used multiple 40mm gas rounds, multiple flashbangs, multiple lethal rounds that were fired at the vehicle and the occupants. This was total overkill and unnecessary for a traffic stop. Now, I'm a firm believer in the supporter of law enforcement. Without rules and regulations, okay, things fall apart. It's no different than a home with no rules. Okay? But when they overstep those rules and start doing stuff that they're not allowed to, it's the rights of other people to step in and say, no, you're wrong. Okay? This needs to change. Law enforcement is here to serve and protect. Serve and protect, not enforce the will of a tyrannical government. Okay, this is a message to all you law enforcement. Okay, you as law enforcement must uphold the Constitution and refuse orders that violates our rights given to us by the Declaration of Independence. It's our rights. You can't take them away. Okay, First Amendment, Second Amendment. The Second Amendment was given to us. It's the only amendment that says these rights shall not be infringed. It's written in there. Okay, it was so high up on the list, and it says down will not be infringed. Okay, the only way to overthrow or keep a government in check is by owning firearms. That's the only way. It's the only way that will guarantee the other rights to us. So, the corruption must stop. Everybody needs to stand up, make your voice heard. Do it legally, do it smart. Do not riot. Do not talk bad about people. Do not cause problems. Do it smart, do it legally, do it ethically. Stand up, let your voice be heard.